Hey Dalyxman, just a response to a video you did about 3 days ago, maybe 4 now by the time you watch this, about you basically did a Facebook rant on it. You typed up how you felt about it, but you also recently just did this video about 3 days, maybe 4 days now, like I said, by the time you see this, on how you feel WWE is mistreating the NXT brand. And does WWE fear its own brand? Well, I have a video and I want you to check it out. In fact, I'll probably provide the link down below so you can watch it. It's a two-part video where I ask the question, does Vince McMahon hate NXT? And I think in a sense, and I kind of said my piece in there, and you can interpret it the way you want to. But when I look at NXT, I see some of the things they do down there, or they do with that brand. It really, like you said, it blows me away of how good some of the things are. I mean, when I saw bits of TakeOver Our Evolution, and I saw what they allowed Prince Devitt, if you will, Flynn Blur, as he's known in WWE now, in NXT. When I saw that they allowed him to have his face paint and everything, I was like, this is cool. This is, this is the Flynn Blur, this is the Prince Devitt that these fans all over know about. A guy that paints his face, paints his body sometimes, to intimidate and psych out his opponents. Fans love that. But it's only for special occasions, like say a takeover, sort of a pay-per-view like caliber show. But when I watch what Prince Devitt Flynn Blur is doing in NXT right now, it does make me wonder how they're going to treat him on the main roster. Now, there are reports that he's one of those special cases to where once he gets to the main roster, which may be sooner than some people think, he's going to be treated the same way he is down in NXT. The same with Kentai, known as Hiduro, or something like that right now. When they both get down, get to the main roster, apparently, from what I understand, they might get the same respect and treatment they're getting in NXT. They could be the only exceptions, maybe. But then again, I can understand that there's a lot of fear, like on your behalf and my behalf and anybody's behalf, that might not be the case. I mean, take a look at the reports about Adrian Neville. I mean, I don't know if you mentioned this, I didn't watch all of it just now, but take a look at Adrian Neville. There are reports that Adrian Neville is going to be brought in with a Mighty Mouse gimmick. Although fans had already seen Adrian Neville on Raw in a tag team match days before the second TakeOver special. So, unless WWE thinks fans are short-minded, forgettable, fans, I guarantee you right now, are pissing all over the fact that someone that they've already seen on Raw, someone that's already established as himself in the freaking WWE 2K15 game, is going to be brought up as a "Here I come to save the day" character. And people are going to piss all over it. Guaranteed. It only makes you wonder what they're going to do with Sami Zayn. He ever gets brought up. And you take a look at the Ascension. Yeah, a lot of people are glad the Ascension's on the main roster, but like you and anybody else, I was hoping we were going to get the Ascension we had seen in NXT. The Ascension that was dominant, vicious. I mean, when you watch the Ascension in NXT in these upcoming episodes, and then you compare them to what you're seeing on Raw, it's like, we know that these are the same guys, but what's going on here? Doesn't make any sense. It's basically the fact that the creative on the main roster just doesn't see the Ascension the way we want to see them. You know what I'm saying? Basically, what it comes down to, Dalyxman, is the fact that Vince McMahon, I think, in a sense, hates NXT. He may not come out and admit it. And like I said, I said my piece in that two-part video, which I'll provide a link down below for you to watch. But I believe he hates it in a sense because, as some sources have reported, it's been outshining the main roster. And just like NXT is Triple H's baby, the main roster of Raw and of superstars that are on Raw and SmackDown, that's Vince McMahon's baby. That's the CEO, the chairman's baby, the owner of the freaking company's baby. And if you think the man that runs the place, the owner of the company, is going to allow his son-in-law, a guy that, if he wants to look at it from a historical standpoint, actually got noticed when he was in WCW, but didn't really become who he is until he got to WWE. If you think a guy like that is going to allow that individual to outshine him with his product, his brand, his roster, you're wrong. Because he's not going to let that happen. He's not going to let that happen whatsoever. He'll be like, okay, yeah, they can come up to the main roster, but here's the thing. When they come to the main roster, they no longer have, in Vince's eyes, and maybe even in Kevin Dunn's eyes, let's not forget this individual, Kevin Dunn. In their eyes, they no longer have the protection of Triple H behind them anymore. Yeah, Triple H can get on people's cases for burying the talent that NXT made, but in a sense, he can't really do anything because he doesn't have that much say anymore. Well, he does have some say, but he doesn't have as much say as he would if something like that was to happen in NXT. You know, like with the announcers burying the Ascension. Down in NXT, he would have so much stroke, those announcers wouldn't even dare to do that again. But on the main roster, he doesn't have that much stroke. He doesn't. He can get angry and give people tongue lashings and all that. It's not going to matter in the end because he does not have that power. No, he doesn't have that power to say, hey, this is how things are going to go. This is what I want to hear you say. This is what I want you to do. He doesn't have that stroke up on the main roster. And what it is, in a sense, to me, is I think it's a bit of jealousy. Because when you have people reporting backstage that the main roster's talent is envious of what's going on in NXT, and that the NXT talent is outshining them every step of the way, it does piss them off. It does make people envious. Especially if you're creative. If you're the people in charge of the main roster product, you're going to be pissed off. You're going to be mad. You're going to be upset. You're going to want to do something to basically stick it to those that are outshining you. You're going to want to do something to basically put those individuals that are outshining you in their place and say, hey, look, you may have free reign when you're in NXT, but overall, when you come to this company, you're what we want. You become what we want, not what you want, not what they want. And sometimes I think, in a sense, and I've been thinking about this, sometimes I think Vince McMahon would love NXT and support NXT more than he should be doing if NXT was full of people that were hired and trained to be wrestlers right off the bat in the Performance Center. Like he could take, like, let's say, take someone like me, sign me to a contract, have me get trained at the Performance Center, and boom, I'm on NXT. I think Vince McMahon would love it more if that's what happened. If that's what occurred. Not saying any of the people that are there that are on NXT are not doing that, have not done that, but still, I think Vince McMahon would rather have it to where it'd be sort of similar to the power plant of WCW. I know that sounds crazy, but that to me is a fact. I think he would support NXT more. He wouldn't be against it so much if it was just like the power plant in WCW and all these people that want to be wrestlers, sports entertainers, divas, came in and trained to be that, just that, and became that, and thus a result of it, became known as nothing more than homegrown WWE talent. That's what I think Vince McMahon would want more than anything, and I believe that's how he would probably get behind NXT if that was to happen. Again, that's just my thoughts and my opinion on it. You know, and then, like I say, you add in the factor of Kevin Dunn. Kevin Dunn and Triple H. Here's something that even the Schleg Daddy on OTR Central has talked about. I asked him a question about it. And the thing is, with Kevin Dunn and Triple H, there's always this power struggle. Like, who's going to be the successor to Vince McMahon? Who's going to be the one to take the reins of the company once Vince steps down or croaks or whatever they want to call it? There's always that power struggle. There's always that distrust between the two, because Kevin Dunn probably looks at Triple H and thinks, hey, you know, what business do you have doing what you're doing? You have no idea how things are done. And here's Triple H, a guy that actually goes in the ring, that knows about the business, studied the business, lives up to what he's called himself, the game, because he's a student of the game, he's a student of the business. Here's a guy that knows what's going on, has that wrestling background sense. He's kind of an old school kind of guy. And yet here you have Kevin Dunn here that looks at his NXT brand, and don't think Kevin Dunn doesn't look at it with envious eyes, because Kevin Dunn probably wishes was running NXT and doing it his way. So there's always that thing. It's like in NXT everybody's okay because they're under Triple H's protection, but when Kevin Dunn gets them, when they come onto the main roster, when Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon gets them, then all of a sudden things turn stay either good if the character's good, if they felt okay the character's fine the way it is, and sometimes that happens. Take a look at the Wyatts. Or if the character needs to be overhauled and thus done in a way to teach Triple H a lesson. The thing is, overall, when you look at it, Dalyxman, it's more about, it's not just Vince McMahon that's a factor. It's also Kevin Dunn and sometimes some of the creative people of the main roster. But again, it's three major factors. Vince is one of them, but not as much as Kevin Dunn is, and not as much as creative is, and not as much as the roster. Yeah, the roster may be envious, but let's take a look. Kevin Dunn has always had an issue with Triple H. And if you're Kevin Dunn and you have this issue with somebody you feel doesn't have the right to be in the position he's in, or even have the brand that he has, then you're going to be a little envious, you're going to be a little angry, and you're going to want to stick it to that guy somehow. So, you know, you're going to want to stick it to that guy by whispering into the ear of his father-in-law, his wife's father, and saying this is what should be done with this character when they come up. So you're going to be a little envious, you're going to be a little jealous, you're going to want to stick it to that guy to prove a point. And is it the other factors that you've mentioned, and I've mentioned, and anybody else has mentioned? Yeah. Sure, there's a lot of envious and jealousy by the main roster because they're getting blown away at times by the NXT talent and what they do. Sure, there's some envious and jealousy. But you know what? It's up to them to blow NXT out of the water. When NXT blows them out of the water with, let's say, a takeover special, it's up to them to step up and say, okay, NXT, you blew us out. Guess what? We're going to blow you out even further. It's up to them to do that. So, that's just my take on it. That's just my take and my response to your video, Dalyxman. You let me know what you think down below. Video response if you like. I'll talk to you all later. Comment below.